kids? Welcome to another episode of Rimshots with Sean. I have a super fun one here today. Fun because it didn't start out as fun, but it had somewhat of a great ending. With me is Mr. Dale Grace, and anybody that you might go, I recognize the name. There was a post that was out a couple weeks ago about him having some gear stolen. I shared it on Barstools, and we had over 8,200 views alone, which I thought was great. So I want to have Dale on here just to talk about the Odyssey, if you will. So welcome, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me, Sean. Appreciate it.
So just give us a little background about what happened.
Well, we're getting ready to head out. We were performing on the Pictou waterfront. My mandolin player was en route, and it wasn't too far out, so I decided to start taking the gear down and placed it out on the lawn by the house. He was going to be there within a short period of minutes. And then I went in to get my backup guitar, and when I came out, my mandolin player was sitting out front, and I said, "Wow, you loaded that gear pretty quick." And he said there was no gear. So in the time that it took me to go in and get my backup guitar and came back out, someone had acquired it.
Wow, and not to make fun of mandolin players. Hopefully they're not like bass players, and they don't load gear or anything like that. That might have been your first tip off if he came up gear with fun. Okay, so
no, this guy's solid. He's a hard worker, so he's not afraid of hauling gear.
Oh, so. we only jest. We only jest. So that's literally 2-3 minutes tops.
Look, if I hit 4 or 5 minutes, I'd be extremely surprised. Like, I mean, it could have been 6 minutes, could have been 3 minutes. It wasn't enough time that I would have thought going to get my backup and coming down that I wouldn't even have conceived, because we're not talking a little bit of gear here. We're talking a complete sound system, guitar, like just everything. So
I saw the post. And I was like, well, I'm going to share it because, for the last 4 years, I've been working on this platform, and I'm absolutely blessed to, have a great network of people. And my folks always share stuff like that. So I figured, what the heck? And, it was an odyssey of a couple of days, if you will. The second time I used that word. But from the time it was, I guess, gone missing till the time that it was reacquired, what was that span?
Literally a couple of days. The outcry was like, I'm totally in awe at over 8K on your site. I'm very grateful. There was just over 4 on my own Facebook alone, and it just it's like it went viral. Long and McQuaid across the country said that they were going to scrutinize any and all offered purchases of Yamaha equipment. The pawn shops reached out. I can't even begin to tell you how many people came to. I just didn't realize there were so many wonderful people out there. And I was filling out, doing a follow-up report at the police station, and a message came to me over my phone, because I had said, no questions asked. Like, you've absolutely crippled me here. Like, you're not stealing from a wealthy guy. Yeah, please return. And didn't they message me saying, do you mean it? No questions. I said, no questions. And they said, we want to return it. And because they saw all the posts, they saw how it was affected and how many people cared. And I said, if you return it on this day at this time, no questions whatsoever, and didn't on the exact rate to the minute that we agreed, didn't they pull up? I promised I'd keep everything completely.
Absolutely.
So I'll just say, yeah. So very simple. Husband and wife literally got out, took the gear out, set it right by my doorstep. They were teary. They said, we feel ashamed, and will you forgive us? I said yes.
So I mean that's an awful mature gesture, I guess is one way I can put it. Do you think that's kind of a sign of what's going on in life right now, where hard times for people, and that it's a way for them to maybe, I don't know, turn a buck to just fund their own lives?
Well, it's here's the sad thing, and I'll qualify what I'm about to say if it comes off not the way I'm intending to say.
Sure.
Things are so tough right now for everybody, that the poor are stealing from the poor. And I'm not saying that it's right to steal from anybody. I want to qualify that right off the get-go.
Yep.
But it's easy pickings. And so when desperate people steal from desperate people, that's exactly, at the risk of repeating myself, these acts of desperation, like, these folks were not bad people.
Yep.
These were desperate people that saw an opportunity. They have two kids of their own, and I don't think they, out of desperation, I don't believe they realized the impact that it would have on, or at least they were so desperate that they couldn't appreciate the impact that it would have. And having a conversation with them, and allowing them to explain, because it was pretty brave of them. Like, they didn't know what they were walking into when they returned it. And
Sure.
tell you the truth, Sean, I didn't know how I was going to react when I walked out of the house. But
Yep.
however, and look, sometimes bad things happen from good people, and times are tough, and
Yep.
it's a shame. But like I said, the poor are easy pickings right now, and I hope
I've
that
been in
came off
this.
like I intended.
No, absolutely, and you know what, and I get it because there's a few things that I'm hearing from you is, and I'll quickly run through them. But I mean, I've been in this business a long time. I started on the road when I was 17 years old, and the big thing for me that's always been a part of this business. Well, there's two things. One, when in times of need, musicians step up, but in times of need, musicians sometimes don't step up. If that makes any sense. And there's been this, especially the last, I'm going to say 2.5 years, where I've seen this turn in the business where um, it almost is all very selfish, in that every man, every woman for themselves. And, we were all in it together and now we're kind of not. And to hear you kind of just say, look, I'm going to honor my no questions asked thing, for you to meet them, and have that reaction, I think it speaks a lot. I mean, I've never met you, man. This is the first time we're meeting, but I'm getting this vibe that you could be part of my tribe because everything that I try to do is, I don't always get it right, but I always try to keep other people in my front vision, right? So good on you for that. There was no question there. But did you know these people? Did you recognize them at all?
Never knew him before. There's two more aspects to this that I would that make it even more beautiful. And but One of it is, just for starters, I have what you call an open stage policy when I perform. I do just over a couple hundred shows a year, and even just playing at over in Tattamagush at the Grain Elevator Crafts Fair. I had two guitar players and a harmonica player come up and join me because I believe that if you share the stage and you co-op your music, you can get lightning in a bottle, and you can just see things and hear and experience things, and the audience gets to experience things they normally ever would. So I believe that if we work together, we'll go further together. But the other aspect of the story is it goes a little further. They explained to me that again, I'm trying not to give away too much, but I want to give enough of it that I'm not going to say it restored my faith in humanity, but it certainly strengthened it. It truly did. He's been in the country for 2 years, and his family just joined him a couple months ago, and one of them doesn't even has yet to speak language, so he had to interpret to her what I was saying, and vice versa, right? And he said that they had felt isolated, that they only lived quarter mile from me. I never met them before. And isolated, they didn't know anybody. Times are tough. And I said, well, I tell you, here's what I'm going to do. I said, in a few days, I'm going to have a fire pit with a bunch of guitar players, and some people are going to be over. I said, you're invited, because I saw the sincerity. Like, they didn't do it maliciously. And that makes the difference. And so I said, look, you don't know anybody. I said, I'm going to correct that. I said, you come join us at the fire pit. No one's going to know who you are, why you're here, or how you're my acquaintance. And I said, you come on over and let's introduce you to some people. Well, didn't they do it? I kid you not. She showed up with a homemade chocolate cake with glaze, and they brought their 8-year-old son with them. Now, how does this get any better?
Well, I tell you how it gets better is other people follow the lead of what you did and start doing it themselves. Because, certainly anybody that follows me knows that, a big frustration for me the last little while was the opposite of that, where, everything that you're doing, and it kind of, sounds, like you and I rehearsed this for me to like build you up as this, behemoth of a man, which isn't the case because you and I have just met. But, what I'm liking about this is the first time I'm hearing all this, and there's a lot of frustrations that I sometimes feel because the opposite is taking place.
Mm-hmm.
And that can happen anywhere from 1 to 15 times in the run of a day. And then I hear this story, and it's in my own backyard, and I go, wow, you know what? All that stuff that happens, if one good thing like this happens, to heck with all the rest of it. So, I mean, that's amazing. And I'm guessing that they met some people and they can network and, kind of feel a little
They
bit better about being in the community.
Well, they feel a lot more comfortable. And I told them, I said, look, Toronto's not a large town. I said, we're going to run into each other. And I said, I don't want you looking down at the sidewalk. I want you to look me in the eye. I want you to wave. You drive by, shoot your horn. If the fire pit's going, I said, what you did is braver than than almost anything I've ever seen. I said, you didn't have to. And you gave as much back to me. I said, right now, Sean, there's no black part in my heart right now. Like they did more for making me feel better than I could ever comprehend. But the other thing is musicians, the rally was beyond. There was, I think, just over 4,200 shares on my own Facebook. And I got a message from a retired musician in Denver, Colorado. He said, I hear you. I see what happened. I'll ship you gear. Maine, Massachusetts. One person said, I'll ship you speakers. The other one said, I'll ship you microphones and you can send them back when you recover. Victoria, BC, Calgary, Alberta, Toronto, Charlottetown. A guy said, you tell me what you need. I'll hop in the car and I'll deliver it to you. Local musicians. There's a band in Moncton. They put a $700 reward up for the thing to come back.
Wow.
Like it's amazing. Now, what I did once I got the gear back, though, all money was returned, all GoFundMe's, everything was rescinded. One guy offered to donate $2,000 if I played at a golf course as a way to jumpstart the recovery. So I called him and said, I'll still play, but no donate. Like, so everything has been. Well, I got my gear back. I don't need it, right? So everything has been with gratitude. Thanks. It took me 2 days to try and respond back to everybody, and finally I just put a blanket thank you, and everything has been not only has everything been returned to me, but everything that was offered to me has been returned. So
wow,
yeah.
I'm gonna watch how I say this, as you said you want to watch how you were saying it in the last week, because I don't want this question to deviate from this positive story. But did you get any sort of attention or any sort of response from mainstream media about trying to cover your story and getting it out there?
Actually, yeah. Which there was another podcast that reached out to me, and they actually came right to my kitchen and set up and said, "Here we go." CBC Radio, Cape Breton, called me. They did an interview over the phone as a little bit about myself and what happened. And they even asked if I would send one of my original songs they played on the radio for me. And then they followed up by saying, can you send me 2 more? So it's, tell you the truth, one, it's humbling, but 2, I got a new perspective on things. I don't believe bad things happen now. I believe things happen, and then it's what you do with it and what can transpire out of it. And I kind of joked. I said, 32 years of trying to get my stuff on the radio, and this is what it seriously.
Well, I mean, in this day and age, and I'm glad that you say that, because I've been, I've had my podcast 4 years, but I'm involved in media a lot longer than that. There's this thing called news cycle, and if you're not part of it, they typically won't talk to you. So I mean, I'm glad that because you were in a news cycle where there's a lot of stuff going on. So for you to slide in there is great and very positive. But to your point, you should never be surprised at what grabs somebody's attention, because it could be the stupidest thing that you just think would what, and all of a sudden it goes viral, right? And that's the game of social media, that people just always scratch their head. I guess as a last kind of part and shot here, Dale. Well, I'll cover this first. So, are you a full-time musician?
Yes. Yeah, that's okay. My full-time gig. Yeah. This is my and 4 kids.
Well, there you go. Well, and you know what? There you go. So that's very important. And so you play, you do some of your own stuff. You do some cover stuff, I assume.
I'm primarily hired to do cover, and every once in a while I'll slide my own in just quietly, because if I'm hired to perform for multitudes of different, there could be a crowd from 0 to 100, and there's different genres. You got to bounce. But I don't have set lists. I don't have music stands with words. It's whatever pops into my head, and as the crowd shifts, I shift. So I do a lot of covers. Golden Country classic rock, Nova Scotia traditional is a big one, and if I can slide my own in here and there and just wait to see if the response is, I don't even tell them it's my own, and I want to see how people's hands are moving, body language, or if they stop talking to listen, and it's a great indication as to whether I'm on the right track.
Absolutely. So here will be the parting shot because I talked to a few people. I think I told you before we started recording. I had a friend that lost some gear, and there's everybody has a different reaction, right? And everybody's like everything from those what's to well maybe it was an accident or whatever. Your message straight from you to everybody that's going to see this, and it will be thousands of people, I guarantee you. What would you say to people if they were in the same predicament?
Don't lose faith. As simple as that. I was rocked pretty hard. I still had to hit the road, get down to the waterfront, and between the sound system they had there, my mandolin, what he had, what I had left up in the room, we pieced enough together that we still put the show on. And so have faith, don't lose heart, and if you get cut out at the knees, don't give up. Crawl if you have to, get her done, and then the next day will take care of itself.
It's a great message because you know what, it's a funny little thing that that you deal with in that sometimes people silently cheer that stuff on when it happens to other people, and you may never hear about it. I didn't hear it in your case. I mean, everybody that I talked to was super positive, and a couple of people were like, "Why aren't you talking to him?" And I was just like, I figured, you know what, you were so busy trying to find your gear, you didn't want to talk to some bozo in Halifax about it, right? But I got to tell you, this is one of the best conversations I've had recently because it speaks to the human spirit and the fact that you know what, there is good things that happen. You just got to look for them, and sometimes people aren't looking for them.
I'll tell you the truth. Even just sitting here, I still get misty thinking about it. I'm not ashamed to say.
Yeah, man. No, and I just think it's a great story. I love, I wasn't big on the beginning. The middle was kind of interesting. The end, like, what a story. There could be a book in there somewhere. I'm not even kidding you. I think you have the makings of something. So I want to thank you for doing this, man. I really think that a lot of people need to hear what it's like to be a good human being because you don't get a lot of that these days. So I thank you very much for doing this, Dale.
My absolute pleasure. Hope to see you in person one day. And if you ever show up at my stage, you're welcome to stand on her and let's go at her.
Where do you live again?
Truro, Nova Scotia. Truro, Nova Scotia.
I'm in Truro quite a bit. I've got some friends down there. A friend of mine plays in a band called Chester Doom. I haven't been down there in a couple months, but you know what? I can make a trip just because. Maybe when we get off camera here, you can tell me where you're playing over the next bit. We can make a point to do it. So again, I want to thank you. Great story. Peace, brother.